Hey y'all, and welcome to PolitiBrawl. My name is Brian, and Laura Ingraham grills this young rising star Democrat who is forced to admit that even the Democrats know that some of Donald Trump's policies are truly working. Let's dive in.
When you look back at the way things have gone for the Democrats in the last few years, and you heard Kamala Harris last night, Congressman, you probably watched some of her speech. Do you think the Democrats, again, as of tonight, are answering the concerns of the middle class that have begun to turn away from the Democrat standard bearers?
Democrats have an opportunity to answer those concerns. Right now, in a Fox News poll, only a third of voters think that Donald Trump's doing a good job on tariffs and inflation. Democrats have a chance to say we are now the party of free enterprise, free trade with free people to build a strong middle class with lower costs, particularly in housing and health care. Here's how we're going to do it. We're going to peel the bark off the health insurance corporations. We're going to build 7 million units of housing. We are going to deliver excellent education to every kid in this country.
No, I get that, but you had 4 years of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and for part of that time, you had a Democrat Congress. So, you had all that time. Biden said it was going to be a new era for America. So what happened?
We accomplished a lot in that first term. We got infrastructure. We got chips and science, which was domestic semiconductor manufacturing. We got gun safety legislation that the Trump administration is now rolling back. We now, though, have to do more. We have to do more on the border. You're right, Laura. 5 million people crossing the border under Joe Biden without documentation was not acceptable.
Did you say 5
Democrats
million?
Need to
Congressman, you're obviously you're very smart. I'm not trying to patronize you. You're very smart. And you know it's not 5 million, right? So
5 million without documentation. Laura, we don't have to debate the actual number.
Right, but numbers matter, right? Numbers matter because I think you're right to point out the need to connect with the middle class. You know, I came from middle class. I don't know where you came from. I came from middle class. So connecting with the middle class, how does when you say an open market, free market? Well, free market's nice in theory, but if you don't have an auto industry at the end of the free market, how is that good for the middle class? So how is no industry good for the middle class if China can come in and undercut every industry, which they're capable of doing? How is that good?
But if the middle class is paying $7,500 more for a car under Donald Trump's tariffs, how is that good for the middle class? What we need in this country is strong tariffs. How did we ever survive as a country before China became a member of the WTO? I mean, we became the world's biggest superpower before China was dumping product, right? So we obviously are capable of having a strong manufacturing class, which Democrats used to really support. I was on the Select Committee on China for 2 years. I absolutely support strong tariffs on China because they've been cheating on the terms of trade. What I don't support is tariffs on Canada that makes it more expensive for my constituents to buy home insurance. How is that helping the middle class right now? It just makes this president look like he's not serious about an industrial policy.
Okay, but most of the industrial stuff we're talking about, other than some aluminum in Canada, is China, is China focused. So, but you're then in favor of Trump's general approach to hitting China hard?
No. Because here's why. For tariffs to be successful, they got to do 3 things. One, they've got to be nested within an industrial policy that actually has a point of view and a plan about how we are going to re-domesticate manufacturing. He's not doing that right. Number 2, they've got to be aligned with our allies so that our allies and adversaries know what to expect. And then number 3, Laura, they got to be done through Congress because no one can plan around this guy's tweets. I got business owners in my district who are saying, I literally have no idea what the next 12 hours is going to bring. Uncertainty is toxic for business.
Well, by the end of it, I think we'll probably end up having about a 30% tariff on China, which probably is actually good news for you and your constituents. But we'll see. We'll see where it lands. Congressman, loved having you on. Thank you very much.
This is fascinating. Jake Auchincloss, that's who is talking with Laura Ingraham right here. He's a fairly young representative. He's only a few years older than I am. And this dude has taken over for, I think, Joe Kennedy III in the 4th District of Massachusetts. And he's basically admitting that Trump's got the ball rolling in the right direction. This is one of the directions that the Democrats are trying to do in order to take back the White House in 2028 and maybe even take back the House in 2026. So I'm trying to put on my Democrat cap here and try to figure out exactly what he's going for. And so far, it seems like the idea that, oh, well, Trump is actually doing some good things, but we need better people in charge to make sure they actually work properly. In other words, it's an admission that Joe Biden had no idea what he was doing. Trump had a good plan all along, but now the Democrats have the unenviable position of running to the right in order to make sure that Donald Trump is correctly corralled in. This is a smart ploy to some degree, but it's ultimately an admission that what we have been trying under the old Democrat policies have not worked. And I don't think the American people are going to buy it. The people that have screamed that we need lockdowns, oh, we need professors everywhere dictating policy, oh, we need more bureaucrats telling you what you can and can't do, I don't think people are going to buy that, okay? But Auchincloss is a unique bird in the Democrat Party. He knows that something has to change, something has to give. And he, in a Time magazine article, he was asked, what should be at the core of Democrats' economic agenda? He has something called cost disease, and that's a can of worms that I won't get into right now. But cost disease needs to be the centerpiece. Our Democratic economic agenda really could be 7 words. Treat cost disease and protect Social Security. So what he's trying to do is appeal to the traditional idea of making sure Social Security is solvent, even though they've refused to take a good hard look at it and see what has been improperly paid out, who is using it for fraud, how much money is being given out or even wasted at times. Ultimately, it's the attempt to remind people that your Social Security will be protected. And that's what the current polling has been saying for the Democrat Party. They have been telling a whole lot of people that Donald Trump and Elon Musk are coming after Social Security. Well, they are. To make sure that we're not wasting billions upon billions of dollars. Social Security and Medicare are the number 1 and number 2 expenditures of our federal government. And then there's sort of a trickle-down effect where even more healthcare costs come into play. And this Democrat doesn't want to look into the mirror and say, we've had a problem in our bureaucracy for decades and we've refused to do anything about it. And so he's trying to hide it in this idea of cost disease, which he doesn't bring up in this interview, but he's trying to talk about, oh, there's better ways to make sure that we're managing the economy. See, his whole shtick is Trump's tariffs are actually in the right direction. They could be used properly, but we are the adults in the room. And Laura Ingraham is sort of letting him talk, letting him make his piece. She is giving him just enough pushback to make sure that he hasn't been given a whole bunch of softballs here. And so she is asking him some hard questions, and he is backpedaling. This dude isn't fully used to the media just yet, particularly a more hostile media environment. But he's got some AOC-like qualities where eventually he's able to find his feet and get back on his message. So he reminds me of J.D. Vance, but from a more left-wing, more bureaucratic perspective. And while Vance, I believe, went to Yale, this dude went to Harvard and also served in the Marine Corps. So this is a very unusual American and very interesting Democrat. I don't think he's going to be running for president, but he is trying to make a point. He is trying to push their version of the Overton window. And the reason why this is so important isn't because that Laura Ingraham sort of won this exchange. She did. But this dude is going outside of the normal bounds of Democrats by admitting that they got some things wrong, by admitting that they haven't had their focus on the right things, by trying to talk more about it's the economy, stupid. James Carville should have that written on his tombstone. Because he was right then and he's right now that that's the most important things to Americans. The economy was terrible under Joe Biden. It was great under Donald Trump. And finally, we're having some new outside-of-the-box ideas. Democrats are trying to copy this. It's like the NFL. It's a copycat league. Eventually, they're going to realize that there's another way that they could be messaging things that, and again, they're the adults in the room. Well, folks, let's be honest. The adults were in the room for the past 4 years. I think it's time to let the younger people come in and talk about this, particularly ones that aren't fully bought and paid for by, the CIA through USAID, but that's a longer topic for a longer day. But ultimately, Jake Auchincloss, is spouting a very new, interesting idea that might make politics a whole lot harder for Republicans, but ultimately it's going to have the problems of being chained to the previous administration, and I think it will ultimately fail. So this dude is not going to get the support that he wants, and I'm kind of grateful for that, because we need to re-look at the way we're doing our economy. These tariffs do have a point and purpose, and I think that there is either at least some long-term plan or a way to de-escalate at some point. Trump has plenty of options, and so I think Auchincloss here is punching a little too soon, and it's going to end up backfiring. Folks, my name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed that segment here on PolitiBrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one, and until then, y'all have a good one.